Before we start the meeting, we need to come out of executive session. It was at 7:53. I'll make the motion. Can I have a second? Come out of executive session at 7:53. Councilmember Pilarski seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, can we rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please continue to stand as we have a moment of silence for our veterans. Please be seated. Madam Clerk, could I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Christine Adamczak. Here. Councilmember Linda Hammer. Here. Councilmember Gerald Kaminsky. Councilmember Brian Nowak.
Present.
Councilmember Brian Pilarski.
Present.
Councilmember Richard Rusiniak. Here. And Supervisor Diane Benchkowski.
Here, 7 present. First public comment period. This is an opportunity for residents to comment on items appearing on the agenda of the town board meeting tonight. The public comment period should last 15 minutes maximum. Each speaker may speak only once, and each speaker shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes speaking time. Let's get the sheet. Okay, there's nobody signed up for the comment period at the beginning of the meeting, so we'll move on to our public hearings. Madam Clerk, first one.
A call for a public hearing was made at the June 22nd Town Board meeting, Resolution Item 2021-320, to consider adopting a new comprehensive plan. Additional public hearings were held at the Town Board meetings of July 13th, July 27th, August 10th, and August 24th, as well as a separate informational meeting for residents that was held on Wednesday, August 4th at 5:30 p.m. in the council chambers. All persons wishing to provide comments could appear in person at any time at any of the meetings or submit comments to the town clerk's office to be read and made part of the permanent record. We did receive one additional comment on the draft proposal, and that came from Maureen Gleason. All the information was sent to the town board and the members of the comprehensive plan. It did reference Town Resolution 2018-288, which is dated 5/22/2018, in which the board acknowledges and recognizes that preservation, perpetuation, and utilization of sites, buildings, and improvements in districts of special character, historical, or aesthetic interest or value are necessary and required in the interest of health, education, culture, property, safety, and high quality of life for the residents of the town. There's a desire and a need to promote the intellectual, cultural, and general welfare, as well as economic well-being of the people of the town. Of great value in safeguarding the town's history and heritage as embodied and reflected in the landmark sites and districts. Our elaborate signs erected as we enter into our neighborhoods, for example, Pine Hill Historic District and Como Park Boulevard Scenic Historic District, are lovely. But true historic sites and their individual sites within a certain district need to be established by an application to SHPO, which means State Historic Preservation Office. The town thus becomes a CLG, a certified local government designated by the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. By becoming a CLG, this designation creates awareness of our town's historical and architectural unique sites, instills civic and personal pride. It also helps advance local and economic development and revitalization goals, enhances community character, and improves the quality of life in a community. I'm happy to tell you that historic preservation of our town's culture and historical resources is supported by many concerned citizens. In reviewing the comprehensive plan draft, I see no definitive mention of town's resolutions of commitment to plan for the historic preservation of our current historic residential and commercial buildings, property sites, cemeteries, or historic neighborhood districts, which are referenced in page 40 and 41. I am respectfully requesting that this draft must be amended to make a provision to plan to conduct a townwide cultural resource survey and then develop a plan for landmark designation of community districts and sites for preservation, rehabilitation, restoration, and reconstruction consideration. Furthermore, the desire and goal of participating in the New York State Certified Local Government Program for the benefit of our town should be stated. And she sent other documents to the council members on historic sites and other things already located in the town. That is the only additional comment that I did receive, and I did want to make one note that that original resolution was actually sponsored by Councilmember Nowak and Councilmember Kaminsky.
Okay, anything else from the board before we're going to have to close the public hearing tonight? And there have been nobody else signed up to speak. Okay, with that, I'll call the public hearing to a close, and we'll move on to number 2.
A call for a public hearing was made at the August 24th Town Board meeting, Resolution 2021-412, to consider an outdoor dining seating area and service of alcoholic beverages at an existing restaurant, which is Texas Roadhouse. All persons wishing to provide comments could appear in person or submit them to the town clerk's office to be read and saved as part of the permanent record. No comments were received.
Okay, we have one, I don't know, is the developer here tonight? You're the developer. Okay, do you want to go ahead? Are you Jillian?
Yes,
Oh.
I'm Jillian.
Okay, Jillian, go.
This microphone's a little tall for me. so
You can pull it down.
Hold down.
I don't want to drop it either.
That's all right, yeah.
Okay. I submitted a PowerPoint. I'm not sure if it's available for using. No? Okay, that's okay. So the PowerPoint just had some plans about the Texas Roadhouse for the patio that's being proposed. It is an existing restaurant at 3755 Union Road. The patio area is an outdoor dining area, which is just over 900 square feet. It'll be to the west and south, directional from the front entrance. It'll be to your left, and it wraps around the side so that it's facing, or half of it is facing Union Road. There's about 74 seats, and then the occupant load of that area would be 78 occupants. The total square footage for the building and patio is going to be 7,842 square feet. And the building department has already approved our application for permit and plans without comments. So that was all I had since I don't have my PowerPoint. Sorry about
Okay.
that.
Board members, any questions to the developer? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And we had nobody sign up to speak other than Jillian, so I will call this public hearing to a close. And we'll move on to the next one, number 3, the special use permit.
A call for a public hearing was made at the August 24th Town Board meeting, Resolution 2021-413, to consider creating a motor vehicle repairs and service establishment on said property at 4945 through 4959 Genesee Street. All persons wishing to provide comments could appear in person or submit them to the town clerk's office to be read and saved as part of the permanent record. No comments were received. I'm sorry, I did receive one. I apologize. I did receive a letter from Sam Taddeo, and he is the owner of the property, and that was forwarded to the town board as well as to our building office. He's submitting the letter to confirm that we are totally in favor of rezoning the change for the following reasons. These properties have not been able to be maintained due to the business terminating at the location 20 years ago, resulting in closing of the building and then therefore becoming attractive to vandalism. Their age and economic unfeasibility bring them to current building standards leads to the logical remedy of demolition and new construction. In addition, they have become very unattractive for the Genesee Street location, a gateway to the Buffalo International Airport, as well as the town in general. A new modern constructed facility and new landscaping would increase the attractiveness of the Genesee Street corridor, increase tax revenues for the town, and very importantly, provide employment opportunities for the community. He is the property owner and asking your kind consideration in granting the request for the rezoning of the property.
Thank you. And we have Mark Romanowski representing the developer.
That's correct. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Romanowski on behalf of Town Automotive Group. We've been before this board several times already on this project. You previously granted the rezoning, which we appreciate, at the end of July to bring it to the Motor Services District. Since that time, we've been before the planning board regarding a recommendation which we've received on the site plan. So they recommended the site plan is ready. But the component when you do a change of use in the Motor Services District is a need for the special use permit. Nothing about the project has changed at all. It's the same project that we proposed previously. There's been some clarification. We've been working with the planning department regarding how do we characterize and use the inventory storage as a component of the project. And at least I'm of the position, and I know we're still working through it some internally, is that can be part of the special use permit, that the parking of the vehicles, you can have conditions on the parking of the vehicles in there. The code itself limits, based on square footage, parking to 37 vehicles, but it's 37 vehicles that are not running and don't have registration. That's not what's going on here. There may be vehicle storage, a limited amount, that we would maximize at 37 vehicles that might be related to the collision services at the facility, but the remainder of the parking of the 192 or 3 spaces that we'll have will be for inventory storage, and this is going to be inventory for new vehicles and 2 to 3 year old cars. So it's going to be a higher end type vehicle storage to support the adjacent dealerships that the Town Automotive Group has. So really that's maybe the clarification that from what we went through with the rezoning process, but the project itself has not changed at all. So we provided a map that unfortunately we can't see tonight that kind of allocates where vehicles might be stored. So for instance, vehicles associated with any of the collision services would be kept behind the building. There's a 6-foot fence on one side of it and the building on the other, so you wouldn't be able to see those vehicles from either the neighboring properties or the road. And then around the perimeter, that would be the vehicle inventory storage, and then out in front would be, in front of the facility would be customer parking, and then some employee parking. Not a lot of employees, but employee parking as well. So, really the goal here is to keep a very neat and clean operation, much like we have, and I know Councilman Nowak went out to the Genesee Street facility before our fire, but certainly saw what took place there and how it's maintained. So that's all I have to present. There's nothing really new here, but happy to answer any questions that the board may have. I know I put Tim's name down to speak if necessary. Tim's from Town Automotive Group and one of the operations managers, so he can speak to certain issues if we have any.
Well, let me
questions.
ask the board. I'll open up board to any questions or
Well,
comments.
You started getting to it, Mark, but like
Mhm.
as far as the site plan and like fencing and things about how this project's going to fit in with the neighbors, 'cause I know some of the neighbors have got concerns about this. Like, how are you going to shield them off from the effects of the project in terms of what's the lighting going to be like? Are there going to be trees besides the fencing? If you can get a little bit more into that.
Yeah, sure, and that was kind of a part of the site plan materials and some of the questions that the planning board asked, so they're certainly appropriate questions. So first off, there will be a 6-foot fence around the entire perimeter on the sides and rear lot line, so that will effectively block the vehicles. Also, on the east side of the site, there's actually a fair amount of vegetation that remains on the adjacent property. So there's a tree buffer between the residential street and this side of the site. Behind us, there are no residents. To the south of the site, there aren't any residents there. And then, of course, across the street and to the west are commercial properties. So that we feel the site's going to be fairly well screened. There was one question regarding the lighting level of one lighting fixture in the southeast corner. We lowered the height of it, which lowers the lumen levels to make sure it brings it down to 0 at the property line, which is a town requirement. So that was done as part of the discussions with the planning board in August with their site plan recommendation. We've also, just tangentially, we're working with the engineering department to kind of solve some issues that you guys are having with the pumping station there. There's a retaining wall that's starting to deteriorate. Our plan, the way we lay out the grading there, we can actually raise the grade in order to accommodate our stormwater drainage and then eliminate the need for the retaining wall. So the town won't have to worry about maintaining that going forward. It'll be stabilized by that grading. So that's kind of part and parcel of the site plan discussions that we had with the planning board. Yeah, that's the lighting plan there, and it was that's strangely reversed. So that's looking at it from the northeast or from Genesee Street looking south, and it was that back left corner as you're looking at that diagram, that level. That's an old representation, but that was the one that we had to bring down in order to lower the lumen levels at that corner. So that was something the planning.
The lighting will be comfortable for the neighbors that are in that area. I mean, have you ever drove by Basil on Cranford Road at night?
Yeah, certainly.
I mean, the
Yeah.
lighting is unbelievable. It's like daylight. I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah, so that's a good representation of the light levels. Also, you're dealing with dark sky compliant lighting, so a dark sky fixture essentially does not bleed laterally from it. You don't have a light bulb. You don't have a glowing bulb as you have in some of the older style. So the idea is to fire downward. And also by using LED lighting, which we're using now, that's much more controlled, and so we can control that a little bit better. Also, there'll be dimming in off hours. It won't be off entirely. We're of course concerned about security, but we can dim the lights off operational hours so that it's not as intense. Again, because this is primarily a service facility, the evening hours aren't going to be very late.
Any other questions?
The only other one that came up in the past, just to remind the public that may be listening here, has to do with the traffic. I know Councilmember Hammer brought it up the last time about the traffic impact this project will have on Genesee Street and all that.
Yeah, and so we looked at traffic numbers, and I think the peak daily amount was around 33 trips. This isn't a high volume, retail-like establishment. It's service. The cars come in, they drop them off. They're probably there for a few days to get work done, and then customer comes back to take it. Employees might do test drives, that type of thing, but very low. Also, when we were able to confirm that we can get side access through Hatch Court, that it gave us two access points there. So we can have vehicles, the car carriers are probably the most significant, have them come in off of Genesee, circle around the back, unload the vehicles, then come back out through Hatch Court. So we can kind of mitigate or minimize especially to the residents to the east about vehicles and large vehicles coming out of there. It might go in, but that's not really going to disturb anybody. And the Traffic Safety Committee didn't have any concerns with it and recommended the approval. And I think we confirmed right when we were before them about that Hatch Court access.
Anybody else? Tom Schmidt signed, but we don't
Tim,
need.
that was Tim, that was me, that was just
All
putting him
right,
on there in case
so
we needed
I
him.
don't think we need to he doesn't need to speak. We got all the information, so
Great.
thank you very much.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll call that public hearing to a close. And I'll move on to the consent agenda announcement. Tonight, we have a consent agenda as part of this meeting. If any council member wishes to remove an item for discussion, please tell me now, and I will remove the item from the consent agenda, and it will be added as a separate resolution item.
I just want to confirm that the 3 items from the work session were pulled.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. Okay, with that being said, I need a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented. I need a motion from Councilmember Kaminsky, seconded by Councilmember Nowak. Anybody on the question of anything? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Town Clerk?
I have a motion by Supervisor Benchkowski and a second by Councilmember Adamzak to approve all items on the consent agenda, including meeting minutes of August 24th. And resolution items 2021-432 through 467. I want to recognize that 465 is not listed in here and it was abandoned. And resolution 2021-436, 437, and 443 were pulled at our work session. I need a roll call vote to approve the consent agenda items. Councilmember Adamzak?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammer?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaminsky? Councilmember Nowak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Councilmember Rusiniak?
Yes.
And Supervisor Benchkowski.
Yes.
We have no separate resolution items, but I do need a motion to add resolution 2021-472 as a waiver item. I have a motion. Councilmember Pilarski. Second.
So moved.
Councilmember Chris.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. I need a motion and a second to waive the rules to include the following resolution items 2021-468 through 472. Can I have a motion? Councilmember Kaminsky. Second. Councilmember Adamzak. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Resolution 1. Resolution 2021-468 is sponsored by Supervisor Benchkowski, seconded by Councilmember Adamzak. A vacancy exists in the position of Motor Equipment Operator B in the Highway Department. Kenneth Mazurkowitz, sorry, I'll make
That's
sure I
all
say
right.
it right. Kenneth Mazurkowitz, currently employed as an automotive mechanic in the Highway Department, bid on said vacancy and meets the necessary qualifications for appointment. Kenneth Mazurkowitz of Depew, New York, being and hereby is appointed to the position of Motor Equipment Operator B in the Highway Department in accordance with the terms and conditions of the town's collective bargaining agreement with the Town of Cheektowaga Employees Association, effective September 15th, 2021.
Anybody on the question? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Resolution 2 is 2021-469, sponsored by Councilmember Adamzak, seconded by Councilmember Hammer. A vacancy exists in the title of Motor Equipment Operator A in the Sanitation Department. Sean Surde, currently employed as Motor Equipment Operator B in the Sanitation Department, meets the necessary qualifications for appointment. Sean Surde of West Seneca, New York, being and hereby is appointed to the position of Motor Equipment Operator A in the Sanitation Department in accordance with the terms and conditions of the town's collective bargaining agreement with the Town of Cheektowaga Employees Association, effective September 15th, 2021.
And the question? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Resolution 3, 2021-470, sponsored by Councilmember Nowak, seconded by Supervisor Benchkowski. A vacancy exists in the position of Assistant Code Enforcement Officer in the Building and Plumbing Department. A current civil service list for said title was canvassed and interviews conducted. Stephen Olzak appeared on said list and meets all the necessary qualifications for appointment. Stephen Olzak of Cheektowaga, New York, being hereby is appointed to the position of Assistant Code Enforcement Officer in the Building and Plumbing Department in accordance with the terms and conditions of the town's collective bargaining agreement with the Town of Cheektowaga Employees Association, effective October 4th, 2021.
On the question? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is Stephen here tonight? No? Okay.
Resolution 4 is Resolution 2021-471, sponsored by Councilmember Adamzak, seconded by Councilmember Hammer. Temporary vacancy exists in the title of Laborer in the Sanitation Department. Walter Safranek, currently employed as a seasonal laborer in the Sanitation Department, applied for said position and meets the necessary qualifications for appointment. Walter Safranek of Cheektowaga, New York, being and hereby is appointed to the temporary position of laborer in the Sanitation Department in accordance with the terms and conditions of the town's collective bargaining agreement with the Town of Cheektowaga Employees Association, effective September 15th, 2021, and shall be effective no later than February 15th, 2022.
Anybody on the question? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is Walter here tonight? No. Okay.
Our last resolution, number 5, is Resolution 2021-472, is to reestablish Town Board work session and Town Board meeting dates of 2021. Whereas the resolution dated January 12th, 2021, this Town Board established regular Town Board meeting and work session dates for 2021. The Town Board of Cheektowaga, the Town Board of the Town of Cheektowaga hereby establishes that town board meetings will be held on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, starting at 7 p.m. in the council chambers, and work sessions shall be held starting at 5 p.m., preceding each town board regular meeting for the remainder of 2021. And be it further resolved, all resolutions will be submitted into Minute Track by the end of the day Tuesday, the week before the regular meeting, and posted on the town website by noon the following day. And be it further resolved, the town board work sessions and regular meetings will be recorded and live streamed in accordance with Resolution 2019-44. Be it further resolved, the town clerk being hereby is directed to forward copies of the resolution to the Cheektowaga Bee and the Buffalo News. And be it further resolved, the 2021 meeting dates as established by this resolution shall be posted on the town's website.
On the question?
On the question, I'm going to support the item, but I think the board should consider in the future the potential of going back to work sessions on the off weeks from our regular meetings. We have to go back to 7 o'clock. This is an improvement from where we were. We tried 8 p.m. and it didn't work. But the concern I have is that we're not going to have sufficient time to deal with all the business that we've needed to. When we did the 5 and 7 o'clock arrangement in the past, there were meetings that started late. There was discussions that abruptly had to been cut short. So hopefully what we discussed in the work session to make time following the regular meeting and move things around, hopefully we can make that work smoothly. But one of the things I think the board should consider in addition to that is dealing with certain rules and how to govern work sessions, because it's very broad and not clearly defined. So maybe we can deal with that in the future and put that on as a work session item on what the rules of a work session are, to who can introduce items, and maybe designating a certain amount of time. But that's for the future, and that might be able to help us better manage going back to the 7 o'clock start time.
Anybody else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I apologize. One second. That's the end of our resolution items. We did receive departmental communications. We received a quarterly report from Emergency Services from January to March 2021, quarterly report from Emergency Services from April to June 2021, and minutes from the Planning Board of August 12th. And then general communications included 2 notices of claim and 1 notice of petition.
Okay, comments? I don't have any comments. Council members?
I do. During the work session, we were discussing an issue, and it came up that the council members didn't fully understand the rules of this board. We understand how attorney-client privilege works. This isn't the first time it's been suggested that we don't, and quite frankly, it's insulting to me when it's suggested that we don't know how the rules of the board work, and I'm tired of hearing it.
Anybody else? Okay, public comment period. This is an opportunity for residents to comment on matters involving Cheektowaga. The public comment period should last 15 minutes maximum. Each speaker may speak only once, and each speaker shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes speaking time. Dave User.
All right, just over the past couple of months, I go down Raymond Street a lot, okay? And there's a chuck hole in there. It's a pothole. I've called the highway department over 2 months now. It had more than a half a dozen times. They've done all kinds of work in that neighborhood. All it needs is a 5-gallon bucket. And I even talked with the lady yesterday. She says, I'll tell the foreman, but nothing's done with it. They did all that paving over there and everything else. Somebody could have just walked over with a bucket and a tamper, bang, bang, and it would have been done. It's just that if you go down and you hit it at night, it's going to rattle your teeth, trust me. So, and the other thing is, I got to laugh at this one, this recycling program we got in the town. I watched these trucks come down my street, okay? On Memorial Day, the truck came down, my garbage is on Tuesday morning. It comes down on Monday afternoon. Well, what's the ordinance of putting your garbage out? It's later in the day now. I don't know exact time, I forgot to look it
3,
up.
3 o'clock it is.
3 o'clock. Well, this vehicle is there
o'clock.
probably before 3 o'clock. And most people on regular work days don't get home till 4 or 5 o'clock, don't put their garbage out till 6, 7 o'clock. So what's this guy doing there earlier in this early in the day? He's not gonna pick up no scrap. And then there's days where I see the scrap truck 5 minutes in front of the garbage truck. Really? The scrappers have already been through the neighborhood. I don't know how much we're making on this, but I bet you it's costing us money between labor, gas, trucks, everything else. We're putting mileage on the trucks. We're paying labor, we're paying insurance and whatever. And I don't care, we're employing these people. So I'm just curious to know how much we're making on this. And has anybody sat down how much it's costing us? Because you're gonna tell me how much we made on it, but you're not telling me what it cost us to make that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Okay. So I need a motion to adjourn the meeting. I'll make the motion. Councilmember Kaminsky second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.